Welcome back to the channel. Thanks again for watching. As always, if you like what you hear, hit that like button. Don't forget to share the video and subscribe. Leave some comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you don't like about what I'm saying. You all are never shy in doing that, and I appreciate it. Thanks for the back and forth, and I appreciate you guys watching and interacting with us because that's what we're here to do. All right, so today I want to talk a little bit about tariffs, okay? One of the biggest parts of Donald Trump's support in the last election was his perceived strength on the economy. Today, on Truth Social, Donald Trump announced that he was going to implement a 25% tariff on Mexico and Canada and a 10% tariff on China, and he intends to do this on day one. Now, he's saying that he's implementing these tariffs until specifically Mexico and Canada, and even through China into this, stop the flow of illegal immigrants and illegal drugs across our border. So it is very possible that this is just negotiating posturing. This is a negotiating tactic. He's kind of taking a hard stance to try to get Mexico and Canada to play a little bit more friendly and play a little bit of ball with him when it comes to what he wants to do on immigration and on the border. But let's just assume, for the sake of this video and for the sake of the discussion, that he does actually implement these tariffs on these three countries. He talked a lot about tariffs during the campaign, and so I think it is fair to assume that tariffs are a tool he is thinking about when it comes to handling the economy. Now, these tariffs target our three largest trading partners. Mexico, China, and Canada make up about a third of all the goods and services that are imported and exported into and from the United States, and it has the potential to impact about 10 million jobs that are supported by these different trade relationships we have with these three countries. Now, the first thing we have to do is clarify who pays tariffs. I think there was a lot of confusion during the campaign, and despite what Donald Trump says, Mexico, Canada, and China do not pay these tariffs. The U.S. companies that are importing the goods and services from Mexico, U.S., and China are the companies that pay the taxes. So they'll pay the increase of 10 or 25% on the goods coming in from those countries, and they will inevitably pass the increase of the cost onto the consumer, onto you, the American consumer. You're going to foot the bill of this 10 and 25% increase in the cost and goods that come from these countries. Now, to put that into perspective, we import about $1.5 trillion of goods and services a year from these three countries. So that will have a significant impact on our economy. If you see an increase of 10 to 25% in the cost of goods and services that make up about $1.5 trillion a year, you can kind of do the math yourself if you want to see what the actual dollar amount of increased cost is going to go to the consumer. Now, a couple of industries in particular would be hit really hard by these tariffs. The auto industry, for instance, would be crushed by a trade war or an increase in tariffs, specifically from Mexico and Canada. Auto factories in both red and blue states like Ohio and Michigan and Illinois and Texas, rely heavily on materials from Canada and Mexico in order to operate. Some of the most popular cars in the United States are made in Canada and Mexico, and so it is likely that those costs will go up 25% if Trump implements this plan. Grocery prices would increase, right? We all remember that from the election. The cost of groceries is a big concern around inflation. Well, these tariffs will definitely not help that, as both Canada and Mexico, and to an extent China, are key agriculture partners. We import a lot of vegetables, for instance, from both Canada and Mexico. So if those are taxed higher, if those go up by 25%, that's going to be seen at the grocery store. And our farmers, our agriculture industry, relies heavily on these three countries to export their products and make income. For instance, in Trump's last trade war with China in his first administration, exports of U.S. agriculture products to China decreased, which cost U.S. farmers $10 billion. So it's not just about the increased cost for the U.S. consumers, but it's also about the retaliatory tariffs that China, Mexico, and Canada will certainly implement. If we implement these tariffs, they will respond and put taxes on our exports, and that's going to have a big impact, for instance, on our farmers and other industries that rely on those three countries to make money, which will also have an impact on U.S. jobs, have an impact on U.S. GDP. And so it's not just about increased cost of goods that trade wars lead to, it's also about the impact it has on our businesses exporting their products. In total, U.S. companies export about $1 trillion a year to Mexico, Canada, and China. Now, the biggest argument for tariffs is that it forces U.S. companies to invest in America and create more U.S. jobs because they want to become less reliant on importing goods and services, avoid those taxes, and create jobs here. And there is absolutely truth to that. However, in order for us to really weigh the pros and cons of tariffs as an economic tool, we need to sort of zoom out and look at our entire economy as a whole. So the United States GDP, which stands for Gross Domestic Product, which is just another way of looking at our economy, measuring our economy, can be broken down like this. 65% comes from consumer consumption, meaning what people are buying. 15% comes from business spending, another 15% comes from government spending, and 3% comes from net exports, which is a measurement of how much more we export versus what we import. Now, when prices go up, consumption goes down. So price increasing tariffs would impact the largest part of our country's GDP. Now, it is true that tariffs may increase business spending. If businesses bring more jobs back to America, spend more money here, that 15% might go up. But it is not clear or known if that will be enough to offset the loss of consumption, which is the biggest part of our GDP. As I stated earlier in the video, this could just be negotiating tactics by Donald Trump to try to get some concessions out of these three countries, and he doesn't intend on actually fulfilling this promise. But I think it is important to know that trade wars can have consequences. We are in a globalized world right now. We rely on our trade partners, and they rely on us, and our economy is much more entangled than just single products having taxes on them that might create more jobs in this country, right? There's a bigger picture at play here, and we should tread cautiously when we either make these threats or deliver on them when it comes to trade wars. But let me know what you think in the comments. Is Trump going to actually do this? Is he not going to do it? What do you think he has planned for his first day in office? And of course, if you like this video, don't forget that like button, hit that share button, and subscribe. And of course, thanks again for watching. I hope to see y'all soon.